Josh discovers some time-traveling medications which he uses to win back Maggie. In an effort to find the only lady on Earth who hasn't turned him down, Mike leads Josh into the cold tundra. Mike pulls out his list of bachelorettes as they stand in the middle of a snowstorm and laments Josh's abject failure at dating. They quickly come across a tent where Unkluktu, a lady, is living. Before Josh enters, Mike warns him that he will be single for the rest of his life if he is unable to earn her love. Josh enters out of concern that this might be the case. Soon later, the three are awkwardly glancing at each other as they congregate around the fire. Unkluktu is abruptly presented with a heart-shaped box by Josh, but she places it on her head since she isn't sure of what it contains. Despite Josh's awkward laughter, Mike reassures him that everything is going well. Unkluktu then starts speaking in her original tongue, which Mike can understand for some reason. She is asking if Josh is a deity. He translates for Josh and says, being the good wingman he is, Mike makes a strong assumption about Josh's divinity in his response to Unkluktu. Josh interprets the woman's widening of her eyes as a cue to inquire about herself from Unkluktu. Mike translates this as him asking if she enjoys music. Unkluktu takes the heart-shaped box and performs a beat because she is happy he asked. The males applaud her after she's through. Mike subtly informs Josh that the moment has come to ask the big question. Unkluktu is then hesitantly asked whether she wants to go out to supper with Josh by Josh. Unkluktu smiles, but as soon as Mike translates this, the smile leaves his face. She admires Josh's godly strength and finds him to be a really good person. She doesn't want to endanger their friendship, though. Josh exits the tent with Mike after expressing his disappointment and stating that he respects her decision. Josh gives up on ever finding a girlfriend as they re-enter the snowstorm. Josh mopes around his house for several days thereafter, feeling miserable and unlovable. Mike agrees passively while playing a video game that some individuals are just designed to die alone. Josh's phone abruptly rings. He leaps out of his seat to respond when he recognizes Maggie as his ex-girlfriend. He is thrilled that she wants to have lunch with him. Josh tells Mike that all of the previous rejections now make sense as he gets ready. He argues that because he is destined to be with Maggie, he didn't click with the other ladies. Later, Josh runs into Maggie in a restaurant and immediately gives her the biggest hug. While they are sitting down, Maggie admits she is a little anxious, but as she begins to break the news, Josh says the same thing. Josh finds it amusing that they are completing each other's sentences while they both chuckle. He starts talking incoherently about related topics, and Maggie can do nothing but chuckle. Suddenly, she tells Josh that she is getting married to her lover, Graham. Josh asks her once again to confirm in a state of shock, but the confirmation only makes him more broken. When Maggie gives him her engagement ring, Josh calmly remarks, "It's fine," but his heart literally leaps out of his chest. Maggie, who has blood on her face, wonders if he's all right. His heart lands on the platter as he assures her that he is okay. He insists that he is all right despite the fact that his veins continue to leak blood. Josh is abruptly informed by a waiter at their table that an ambulance is on its way. Josh asks him for some French onion soup after he inquires if there is anything he can do in the interim. Josh questions Maggie about the wedding plans as they wait for the soup and the ambulance. He's informed cheerfully by Maggie that they hired a wedding coordinator. At this moment, Josh has lost too much blood, and he briefly passes out on the table. They place him on the stretcher before the paramedics arrive. Josh asks Maggie the music he chose for the first dance before they remove him. Josh is even more saddened by her response that it is Wonderwall because it was once their song. Josh responds that he is and even offers his congratulations when she inquires once again about if he is really fine with her getting married. He is finally brought to the hospital. A few days later, Mike and Josh visit a convenience shop. He is preoccupied on Maggie's engagement as they approach the counter, and his pal is of no assistance because he describes her fiancé as a great guy. Mike then finds some male enhancement pills, but the cashier informs him that the merchandise can harm his liver permanently. Mike, on the other hand, just slams his cash to the table and downs the pill. Josh recalls giving Maggie cheap carnations for her birthday and wonders if he had given her a better gift. They wouldn't have gotten into the argument that led to their separation. Mike reminds Josh that it is what it is as he moans from the negative effects of the medication. In spite of his denial, Josh ironically discovers some time-traveling pills by the cower. The 2-minute trip back in time is made possible by the pills, after which the user is brought back to the present. The clerk mentions taking one and seeing some dinosaurs. He cautions Josh that the space-time continuum could sustain some irreparable harm from the drugs. This doesn't bother him, though, and he downs one to travel back in time. The drug sends him back in time 1 year, when he discovers his former self purchasing purple carnations for Maggie. He soon approaches himself and advises against purchasing the flowers in favor of the necklace that Maggie has long desired. While his past self screams in horror, he must act quickly because time is running out. Josh comes back to the convenience shop. and Mike is still writhing in pain due to his liver. Mike is suddenly approached by Maggie, who informs him that they advised him not to take the drugs. Josh stares at her in surprise, and then, when he sees the necklace she's always desired, he understands that his former self did really heed his counsel. He still has a relationship with Maggie as a result of this. He exults before informing Maggie that they must make up for lost time. He says he wants to treat her to supper after a heated session. Maggie proposes getting sushi, but Josh finds he's broke after looking in his wallet. He recommends going to the dry cleaning and falafel shop. Maggie's smile disappears upon hearing this, but she continues to state that it is a viable alternative. Josh declares that they are going to have sushi out of fear that they might break up again. Then, after downing one of the tablets, he travels back 9 years to the time when he was considering majoring in philosophy. He advises his former self to major in economics because it will make his life significantly better when he gets there. He tells himself to trust him even though his former self is terrified. Suddenly, he is transported into the present when he meets Maggie in a posh restaurant. Once more, his former self heeded his counsel, and now he has all the resources needed to strengthen his bond. Just as they're going to eat, Josh observes that Maggie is starting to feel a little drawn to certain bearded men. As a result, he diverts Maggie's attention and swallows one of the tablets. Josh travels back in time 20 years, where the young Josh sees his father shaving his beard. Josh shows up after the elderly man has left and tells himself to get unusual facial hair. Before being drawn back in, his younger self encourages him to trust him as he flees away. Josh learns that his younger self accepted his counsel because his younger self now has noticeable facial hair when he gets back to the present. To his amazement, he finds himself at the altar set to wed Maggie. Josh is overjoyed, and he didn't even mess up the space-time continuum. At least that's what he believed. Unbeknownst to him, he has contributed to a terrible dystopian future for humanity in which Trakenon, an alien ruler, rules over Earth. Josh makes the decision to go back to the convenience shop where he purchased the pills as he becomes used to his new life with Maggie. He locates the cashier and starts telling him about his life right away. But when the cashier turns around, his half-cyborg face is seen. In an effort to escape the uncomfortable situation, shocked Josh inquires as to where the video game magazines are. He visits the magazine stands, where Trakenon's propaganda is spread throughout everything for sale. As he travels home, he purchases one with video game material and enjoyably flips through it while oblivious to a man being shot for retaliating against Trakenon's forces. Maggie is astonished by what Josh is reading when he arrives home because he had claimed it was intended for children who play too many computer games. Suddenly, Maggie rises to watch their preferred program. Josh believes it to be Carnival, but it's actually Meet the Press, which is a genre he would never have expected. Josh decides to catch up with Mike after being perplexed by what he has been doing for all those years. He is working to satisfy the Overlord's sexual desires when he is discovered in Trakenon's headquarters. According to Mike, it's a fantastic job with lots of perks, including dental care. Mike is abruptly informed that his shift starts in 2 minutes. He begs Josh to assist him in stretching his legs as a result. Mike says it feels fantastic to hang out like they used to years ago as Josh does just that. Mike is aware of how Josh's marriage and profession have kept him busy, which has made him realize that he neglected his relationship to be with Maggie. Due to his preoccupation with trading bonds, he also stopped playing video games. The horn blows and Mike dashes off to work. Josh is shortly after taken prisoner by activists and given to the general. He is shocked to see his sister Liz there. The soldier is reassured by Liz that she will handle the situation. She says she is glad to meet Josh since she can now give him her wedding gift when they are finally alone. Liz responds that the pro at Josh's country club recommended that particular brand to her when Josh questions why it's a golf club. When the headquarters are suddenly attacked, Liz orders Josh to remain covert while she kills the soldiers of Trakenon. Josh muses on the state of his life while she is occupied. He has undergone significant transformation, but Liz reassures him that it's okay as long as he's content. But that's not true. He's not. As a result, Josh tells Maggie that he is no longer pleased when he returns home. He continues by saying that he has been pretending to be someone he is not, which hasn't made him happy. Maggie, meanwhile, only observes how odd he has been acting lately. Josh reassures her that he can make things better when she claims he's frightening her. He panics as he pulls the time travel tablets from his pocket and realizes that he has already used them all. They were never meant to be married, therefore he has no choice except to advise getting a divorce. Josh expresses sympathy for Maggie and acknowledges that he understands it will be difficult when she says they can't. She sighs in irritation and adds that Trakenon is a Catholic. Since divorce carries a death sentence, they are essentially wed for life. When she has come down, she addresses a small triangular object over the fireplace with the phrase "Hail Trakenon." She instructs Josh to follow suit, and despite his confusion, he does so. After that, Josh sits down on a chair and begins to come up with solutions on how to repair the spacetime continuum as Maggie sobs uncontrollably. He develops a strategy as he examines the tiny device. He immediately runs into Mike and inquires about transportation options to Trakenon. He can only get close to the Overlord, though, if he accepts a job as one of his sensual servants. Josh begs to join the harem out of desperation. Mike asks him how wide he can open his mouth since he doubts his abilities. Josh does a demonstration, and Mike is impressed, giving him a place in their team. The two dress up in their costumes and leave to report to the Overlord. Josh is introduced by Mike with enthusiasm, but Trakenon thinks Josh is a little. Mike reassures him that he has been eating more in order to gain weight as a result. Josh is given permission to participate, and Trakenon instructs Mike to begin playing. Mike effortlessly dances to the alluring music that suddenly starts to play. Trakenon is excited by this, so he orders him to complete his duty. Josh finds this annoying, but when Trakenon turns to face him, he starts dancing frantically. He can't dance, so the Overlord just orders him to assist Mike. He touches various areas of Trakenon's body indecisively. He quickly snatches the Overlord's scepter and starts shooting the guards as his eyes catch sight of it. Josh says that Trakenon shouldn't even be on his world, so he uses the scepter to stab the alien dictator in the eye to end his life. Mike, who has become bonded to the Overlord, cries in pain. The populace rejoices at their newfound freedom on the streets. Josh's mother cries out inconsolably to her husband, "Our boy rescued the human race," but he just says, "Neato," as if it were expected. Josh and Maggie complete the necessary paperwork to end their marriage in the meantime. She describes how Josh shattered her life as she gives back the ring. When she is about to continue, he stops her and says there is someone he wants her to meet. A group of individuals is cleaning the paintings at Trakenon outside. Graham, Maggie's ex-fiancé from the earlier timeline, is one of them. Josh presents Maggie to Graham when he is finally prepared to let go. Then, when he sees Liz and Mike again, he tells them that he is prepared to let go and extends an invitation to go out. Mike claims he isn't yet ready to date since he finds it difficult to simply move on from someone like Trakenon. Liz also declines the offer, stating that she has to start working so that she can have a chance to join the firm as a partner once all the other partners have passed away. Josh points out their youth and independence. Plus, it's Saturday night and Trakenon has passed away. Liz and Mike exchange glances before deciding to accept. Josh grinned, and the three of them moved on to enjoy the remainder of the evening. Thank you for watching. Why don't you consider subscribing while you're here? We have the best recaps around and would love to have you part of our community. Thank you and see you in the next one.